Welcome back everybody to another part of my Blu-ray collection. Now we're getting towards the end of actually looking at my Blu-ray collection. Outside of what we're going to be doing today, there's really only a few box sets, a couple of limited editions, and then it's purely just a normal kind that you can see here in the background. So yeah, we've not got much more to do, but one of the more important aspects of my collection is steelbooks. So we're going to be looking at them today. Wide range of films here. Some are quite old. I think the oldest is from the 1970s. A few from the from the 1930s, in fact. So yeah, and then we've got a few from the 1970s, then 80s onwards. So we'll look at our oldest one first. It is the impeccable Invisible Man. No actual wording on the front, which is nice to see for once, but you do obviously have it on the spine, and then you have Invisible Man on the back. But again, it's got the corporate guff on the bottom, so unfortunately can't really use that. But yeah, really nicely done. Alex Rose on the corner there. I think that might be the designer of the steelbook. But either way, a fantastic film. Do have this in a box set of classic Universal Monster movies, but yeah, still wanted it in this version as well because it's a fantastic looking steelbook. And I think they did a range of them, but that was the only one I could find. And then we'll move on to the few from the 1970s. And I've got this on a limited edition as well, so you'll probably see it in the future. But for now, don't look now. Starring the great Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland. And yeah, directed by the great Nicholas Roeg. And yeah, superb film. It's my favourite horror film going out there, to be honest. There's the side and there's the rear. And no corporate guff on this either, so you can use this side if you wish. So you don't have to just use the front, which is nice. And yeah, really nicely done. Really gets across the whole point of that film. And now these next two are exclusive to HMV. They're part of their Japanese series editions. As yeah, there's several versions. You can get Jaws, you can get Spartacus, and a few others. But I chose these two. First of which is The Hindenburg, starring the great George C. Scott there at the top. And yeah, I absolutely adore this film. It's even one of my favourite disaster films from the 70s, when there were a lot of them. And yeah, it's all in Japanese, so yeah, no a minimal amount of corporate guff down here, but yeah, still a fantastic looking steelbook, and not a word of English either outside of that corporate stuff on the side there. And yeah, it's a great transfer. You also get a little poster with it as well, which is also in Japanese, I imagine. Yes, it is. Which is, yeah, really nicely done as well, as you can see. So yeah, it's really nice. I like the fact it came with posters as well, which is, you know, first time for everything and all that. Because yeah, this is hardly a film that is well known or well loved, but a film that is well known and well loved purely because of the director behind it is Duel, because it's directed by Steven Spielberg. It's actually his first film, well, his first proper film. I imagine he did some in the 60s when he was younger. But yeah, this was actually a TV movie in America, but it was released theatrically in the UK. So yeah, fantastic film. I love the colours on this. Nice purples, blacks and greens. And yeah, unlike Hindenburg, it does have, you know, a bit of English on it, but still, fantastic looking cover. And again, you get the poster. You get the artwork on the steelbook as a poster as well, and a really nice Blu-ray as well. Although there is a 50th anniversary of this coming out on Blu-ray, which I might well get because it's apparently going to be the best version of the film on Blu-ray, and it also comes with another poster. So yeah, might well get that. And then we've got a film from the 60s. I forgot about this one actually, but yeah, it's one of the Sergio Leone's best the westerns. Once Upon a Time in the West. So this came out after the Man with No Name trilogy, but before Duck You Sucker, which we've already seen on the I think it was the second site. No, Eureka. I'm struggling to find it. Yeah, it's Eureka. So yeah, we already seen a Sergio Leone film, and you'll see the box set of the Man with No Name at some point as well. But yeah, really nice steelbook. Not my favourite because there's a bit too much wording on the front with the cast and everything. And the back isn't particularly interesting, even though this harmonica plays a significant part in the film. But yeah, nice enough steelbook. Nothing special in terms of the disc. It's just a plain disc, but yeah, still a nice steelbook overall. Now we're moving headlong into the 80s. And the first of them is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Been desperately trying to find The Wrath of Khan and the first film on Steelbook, but they sold out fairly quickly because they're the two popular films in this series. But yeah, glad at least I got this because this is one of my favourite sequels in that series. Come on, focus, there we go. And yeah, if you stand them all side by side, they all come up with the logo of Star Trek as well. So yeah, that is pretty nice. And yeah, it's all part of the 50th anniversary of the series. And yeah, nice enough inside. It's got Star Trek on the inside, and the disc at least isn't plain. So yeah, nice enough. Not actually watched it on that version yet because I was hoping to get the other steelbooks, but unfortunately not. Then we've got two films from John Carpenter from the 80s. The first of which is a great The Fog, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. And yeah, when the fog rolls in, the terror begins. And yeah, really nice steelbook. I love the blue on this. Really does stand out alongside the black. And yeah, that's a side. A fair few of these are from Studio Canal, actually, I've just realised. But because the back doesn't have any corporate guff on the back either, it's also really nice looking. It looks like a painting, to be honest. I think I've actually scratched a little bit of the steelbook on the bottom there. But yeah, it's a really nice looking image, and it looks like I said, like a painting or something. And there's a ship where the ghostly pirates are coming from, and the lighthouse where a lot of the action takes place. So yeah, really nicely done that. And then another one from the 80s by John Carpenter, They Live. Easily one of his best films, and yeah, easily one of my favourites as well. There we go. Don't know why it's not focusing today, but yeah, this again, like The Fog, has a brilliant reverse side as well. They Live, We Sleep, and yeah, I actually prefer this side than this side, to be honest. I prefer the simplicity of just that, you know, those words with the images. I find that simple aspect a bit better than the rather chaotic front. And then we've got one more from the 80s, The Running Man, starring Arnie. And yeah, really nicely embossed, as you can probably hopefully see. And yeah, again, like those previous two, it's also got a really nice rear, no wording on it at all, thankfully. And yeah, shows off all of the array of characters that you've got going on. And yeah, again, this is an underrated Arnie one as far as I'm concerned. I know it's not the best Stephen King adaptation out there, but I still find it really, really enjoyable. Then we move on to the 90s. We've got another one of my favourites, The Fifth Element. Now this actually doesn't have any wording on it, front or rear, which is nice to see. So there's the 4 elements and the 5th element in there. And yeah, fantastic film, easily one of my favourites from the 90s. This is actually in 4K as well. So yeah, there you go, 4K on the left there, and then the Blu-ray as well. And yeah, all nicely done as well. It's easily one of the best. It's easily the best that this film has looked on 4K, and yeah, looks far better than it does on Blu-ray. Though I hope to see that in the cinema at some point. And then we move on to something a little bit more recent, King Kong. And by recent, I mean 16 years ago. But yeah, again, like The Fifth Element, no wording on the front of this. But there is on the back, unfortunately. So even though it's got a nice image of Kong, it's got no, it's got all the wording on the bottom. But yeah, nice enough on the front. Gets you know, the size of Kong versus a normal human being really nicely, and yeah, shows off the central arc of this film, which is, you know, sort of a romance, but also in terms of, you know, protection and Kong having more emotions than just pure anger, like on the back shows there. And again, this is also on 4K, but you also get a bonus disc as well. So yeah, 3-disc edition that. But yeah, at least looks amazing on 4K. This is again another one of those films that I really, really wish I could see at the cinema. But I wasn't really particularly into films in 2005, so unfortunately I did not get the chance to see it. Now we're on to a brace of new films from the prior decade, and yeah, first of those are a bunch of sci-fi films. 3 of my favourite sci-fi films, in fact, although you can call one of them not a sci-fi film because it's actually based on something that actually happened in space, and that is because it is First Man. Now this has no wording on the front, which I actually like because it gets across the whole desolation and isolation of the moon. So yeah, it's based on the moon landings of the late 60s, the first ones that actually happened. Again, it's a shame that there's wording on the bottom of this because I actually like that footprint that is on the back. But yeah, fantastic film. Easily one of my favourite films of the last few years. Looks incredible on 4K. And yeah, also got one of the best scores ever made for a film of this type as well. And yeah, emotionally weighty as well. And yeah, even though you know what is going to happen, you still got the tension, you've still got the excitement, and you've still got the spectacle to go along with it. Now, a film that is pretty much similar to that film First Man, but is a sci-fi film, is Ad Astra with Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. And yeah, another fantastic film. Easily, again, one of my favourite sci-fi films. Nothing on the back, unfortunately, so that's a bit of a shame, but I think it at least does... No, it doesn't. I was going to say, opening it up, it would make it look a bit better, but it doesn't. So, yeah, this also is on 4K, but blank disc for some reason, which is a bit of a shame, but it's got a nice picture on the inside at least. And, yeah, again, another great sci-fi film from the last decade. Highly recommend it. It's easily one of my favourite cinema experiences of the last 5 or so years. But another favourite experience over the last 5 or so years is the superb Blade Runner 2049. I actually prefer this to the original film. And yeah, I know that's not the common consensus among a lot of people, but it genuinely is. And yeah, also no guff on the back, so you get a nice image there on the rear. And yeah, I love the colours in this film, and I love the colours on this steelbook as well. Nice purples and neon and all that lot. And again, it's also on for... Oh, where that came from. These codes don't actually work anymore, so if you actually get one, there's no point having it. But yeah, again, on 4K, also get a bonus disc, and yeah, absolutely superb film. Highly recommend it if you've not seen it already. Bit long for some people, I might imagine, but yeah, oh, actually, it's not a bonus disc, it's 3D. Never realised that. But yeah, you can see that, 3D. But yeah, fantastic film. I know some people have problems with the length and the fact that it's not got huge amount of action scenes or whatever, but there we go. And another film I prefer to the original, which is probably even more controversial than Blade Runner 2049, is Doctor Sleep by Stephen King, the sequel to The Shining. Yeah, I genuinely prefer this to that original film. I know some people don't, or most people don't, in fact, but I prefer it purely because the characters are more involving. I prefer this narrative structure. And yeah, I feel it's more emotionally weighty as well, whereas I thought The Shining was a really rather quite cold and quite calculating. And yeah, even though it did have its thematic, themes and all that lot about alcoholism and parental abuse and all that lot, I feel that this is a lot better at getting its themes across. Plus, it's also a better horror film. Stanley Kubrick famously didn't like horror films, also famously didn't like sci-fi films, so... yeah, don't know why you take on either of those if you didn't like the genre. But yeah, either way, great film. 3 hours long as well. This is has a director's cut in it. Shame that the back has all of that on it, because I would have liked Red Rum on its own, but unfortunately not. But yeah, also on 4K. And it looks great on 4K. And yeah, but unfortunately the director's cut I think is only on the Blu-ray. So yeah, I can't remember if it was on the 4K or not. Would have been a bit of a shame if not, but either way, fantastic film and a fantastic release as well. Now finally, one of the best action films of the last few years, though not my absolute favourite, is Mission Impossible Fallout with Tom Cruise. Easily the best of the series, I think, so far. Although the last few have been pretty damn great, to be honest, and certainly made up for they've certainly made up with for the third film onwards for the second abomination that was Mission Impossible 2, which came out in the early 2000s, and yeah, also on 4K, unfortunately only blank discs, which is a bit of a shame, but that's the way it is sometimes, and again, there's a lot of guff on the bottom, so yeah, you can't actually really use the rear here, despite a nice shot of one of the action scenes. But yeah, superb film. Like I said, it's easily one of the better films in the series, which I genuinely do like. Like I said, the second one is the only one I really hate, but yeah, fantastic film. So there we go. Not many steelbooks by any means, and I have 17 here, plus the 18th one, Ringu, which we actually saw in the Arrow video that I did. So yeah, not got all that many. There are a few in the future that I will be getting, and you'll see those in an update video at some point. But yeah, as soon as we get out the way of the collection I currently have, then yeah, we'll see some of those updates. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.